This video is sponsored by Motion VFX. The MacBook Air received a refresh in 2020 that adds some pretty nice changes following the major redesign that happened back in 2018. And so in this video, we're going to get my first impressions of the newest laptop from Apple. Before we get started, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell to get notifications whenever we share a video. For those who don't know, Apple finally redesigned the MacBook Air a couple of years ago, giving it new internals, a much needed Retina display, a redesign to match the MacBook and MacBook Pro, and of course, the butterfly keyboard. So, what's new with the 2020 model? Well, if you take a quick look at the 2018 and 2020 models side by side, you might not notice a difference at all. That's because the changes this year were focused more on under-the-hood improvements. For starters, the base model now comes with the new 10th gen Intel Core i3 processor, 256 gigs of internal SSD storage, which is actually doubled from the previous base model storage of 128 gigs, and perhaps the best update of all, a cheaper entry-level price tag of $999. Of course, you'll still get that beautiful Retina display, 2 Thunderbolt 3 ports, which now supports the Pro Display XDR's 6K resolution, and because I'm under quarantine, I can't actually test that because that monitor is at my office, but I'm just going to take their word for it. There's also a fingerprint sensor in the top right corner of the keyboard. Which brings us to the biggest change of the new MacBook Air, and that's a redesigned keyboard. This machine now features the new scissor switch style Magic Keyboard that Apple is starting to implement across its new devices, and it started with the 16-inch MacBook Pro from late last year. Typing on this keyboard does feel very good, but compared to the butterfly keyboard, it's softer, kind of mushy feeling, and it's quiet. Now that might be positives for everyone else, and considering that these keyboards have yet to experience any defects or issues to the degree that the butterfly keys did, it's safe to say this new keyboard is infinitely better, but for me personally, I still love the typing experience that you get from a functional butterfly keyboard. There's really no point in harping on this anymore because really, there's no chance that Apple's going to go back to the failed keyboard design, but I just want you to know that I really do like typing on that butterfly keyboard from 2018 and wish we could still have it. But with that said, this new keyboard is very, very good. So yes, Apple has seemingly taken care of all the issues the previous MacBook Air had, and they cut the price. But what about performance? Is there a noticeable difference with this new hardware compared to the 2018 model? Well, according to Geekbench, there's not a huge difference in single and multi-core CPU scores, nothing eye-opening at least, but obviously the newer model did outperform the 2018 model. And the higher-end Core i7 option should bring in more gains. OpenCL and Metal scores, however, confirm a massive upgrade in GPU performance, or at least in terms of scores. These scores do not mean that you should go and run out and buy the new MacBook Air for graphic-intensive work like video editing or 3D modeling or even gaming, but it is nice to see this upgrade to the new Intel Iris Plus graphics. I think most people know that the MacBook Air is not ideal as a workhorse computer, pumping out video content, editing a ton of images in Lightroom or Photoshop, etc. What this computer is good at is having excellent battery life to finish up those work emails, spreadsheets, documents, and of course just browsing the web. It's even great for consuming content too. When an average consumer tells me they want a Mac, the MacBook Air is usually the first direction that I point them in, and I'll continue to do that, especially with the price drop. Unless you already have a great monitor, keyboard, mouse to couple with the Mac Mini, and you never plan on taking that Mac out of your house, well, the MacBook Air is the way to go if you need something for everyday tasks. But of course, would love to know your thoughts on the latest MacBook Air in the comment section down below. Now, before we end today's video, I do want to give you more information about today's sponsor, Motion VFX. If you haven't heard of Motion VFX yet and you're a content creator, well, buckle up because your life is about to get a whole lot easier. You might have seen some fancy animations or graphics popping up throughout some of our videos, and as much as I would like to say that I created those beautiful transitions or animations myself, I technically did not. Work smarter, not harder, with over hundreds of different plugins and templates from Motion VFX. They are hands down the best resource for Final Cut Pro 10 and Motion plugins and templates. Installing a plugin is as easy as one click from the Motion VFX menu bar app, and customizing the plugins all takes place directly inside of Final Cut Pro. Just drag and drop your effect or transition into your timeline, and then edit from the inspector. It's that easy. If you want a recommendation on what plugins to check out, definitely start with the M-Bundle Vlogger. These are the perfect set of resources for adding in some awesome intros, pop tags, social media animations, adding in pointers for tutorials, which is something that we do quite a bit, and much more. Honestly, I use these plugins every day, and they are a huge tool for helping me create content faster and easier. For more information about Motion VFX and the M-Bundle Vlogger, click the link in the description down below. This has been Dan with Mac Rumors. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you around in the next video.